But that's all very well to amend the law and bring it up to date. But how do you enforce it? And this becomes, we think, the real question. Currently now, if somebody can't claim the media exemption, of course you can complain to the Privacy Commissioner about some of the privacy-related matters. What are the other means of so-called enforcement? NetSafe do a wonderful job. They are not a statutory body. They have no coercive powers, but they can help people who are experiencing trouble of this kind. They can direct them to the police if that's necessary. They can try and mediate. They can try and get some sort of solution. But at the end of the day, they don't have any power to actually order people to do something. The police can help if it's an offence, but they are busy. Their processes sometimes are a bit long drawn out. They do what they can, but even they say they cannot help all inquirers. So sometimes there's a dead end even there. And if it's not an offence, of course, they can't win them. Many websites have excellent self-moderation. And if I can compliment the other person on the table, Mike, I think Trade Me has a fantastic system of taking down offensive material from its message boards. If there's a complaint, it is looked at and something's done about it. Not all websites do that. Very far from all websites do that. So if all of that's going to fail, sometimes court action is possible, but who wants to do that? Expensive, delaying, very, very public. And I think most people who are being harassed or have stuff put up about them that they don't like would really say, I don't want to have to go into a public courtroom and give evidence in front of the world about all of this. So the court case is, I won't say a last resort, because sometimes people do use it, but it's a very heavy piece of machinery indeed. So we've asked the question, and that's all it is at the moment, and we have yet to make up our minds about this. We're wondering if there might be some kind of official body set up which can operate at a sub-court level, lower down in the courts, giving fast, expedient and efficient justice without the necessity of going to a court of law. One possibility is a kind of ombudsman or commissioner, and if you feel you've really been done in by an internet harm, you can go to that person who'd be well publicised, very high profile, and they would have the official authority to approach the website concerned and say, please take it down. They couldn't order it. It would be a mediatory kind of a thing. They'd also have the status to deal with the big players like Google and Facebook and say, could you please, this we think is a breach of New Zealand law, could you please deal with it? And those organisations, Facebook I know does have procedures and very effective ones if they're approached in that way. The other possibility is a sort of step up, and this is a tribunal which would have court-like powers but could be approached without cost, or with very low cost, could act quickly and very informally, and wouldn't have the sort of scary formal procedures of a court. And the tribunal might act in this way. We think it should only be able to act if there's been a breach of the law which has caused demonstrable harm. Otherwise you're getting into Bill of Rights, freedom of speech territory. You've got to be very careful. So we would try and confine it by saying the tribunal could only act if there's been a breach of the law and it's caused demonstrable harm, which could be psychological harm. And it could then make orders available to a court. It could actually order takedowns. It could actually order apologies or corrections to be published, even perhaps a limited amount of monetary compensation. It would be a little court, but a much more informal one. Well, I know there are questions, how effective would it be? You know what the internet is like. If the website's based overseas, your jurisdiction is pretty limited, I've got to say. People have smart ways of getting around this sort of thing by setting up new websites under new names. Just as smart people avoid our tax laws by doing similar sorts of things. So I suppose what we're saying here is that no law will ever be totally effective. No law in the world is totally effective. There's a law against murder, but people still do it. And sometimes they get away with it. There's a law against evading tax, but people do it all the time in various ways. And there are quite interesting ways of doing it. So no tribunal will ever be effective, but we think it could be a heck of a lot better than it is now. And that might be a step towards it. There is a final question as to how it would relate to other agencies. in particular the Privacy Commissioner. The Tribunal would have a much wider jurisdiction, of course, but insofar as it overlapped with privacy, we'd have to ask the question as to how that overlap's to be solved. And you might decide to say, well, if it's a pure privacy matter, it belongs to the Privacy Commissioner. And we think that would be a small part of the whole jurisdiction. But that would depend, we think, on the Privacy Commissioner having appropriate powers to deal with it, and we hope she gets them in the form of compliance orders. That would be rather nice. But we'd have to sort things like that out. We're just putting this out at the moment, saying to people, what do you think of that? Is this a way forward? That is all I've got. Thank you.